Okay, so I want to talk about this video article. I'm not sure what I want to classify it as that I came across. Um, I was reading about some university stuff, and University of Michigan came up, and it had this link to this University of Toronto. This lady, a professor, I'm guessing of some sort, she made this video, and the University of Michigan had it on their page here. Their inclusive teaching, University of Michigan. So this one was the instructor's guide to understanding privilege. And at the bottom here had this video. Like I said, University of Toronto made it. I went and I looked for it. I found it on YouTube, and funny enough, all the comments are turned off, which I'm not surprised. But here you get to click the PDF for the instructor's guide to understanding it. So I went ahead and did that. And section one is the introduction to privilege. This is a good read. So it says privilege, simply put, is societally granted unearned advantages accorded to some people and not others. Generally, when we talk about privileges, we are referring to systemic and structural advantages that impact people based on identity factors such as race, gender, sex, religion, nationality, disability, sexuality, class, and body type. We might also include levels of education and other factors of social capital under the umbrella of privilege. Privilege is inextricably linked to oppression because while systems, social norms, and biases are advantages for some people, others are disadvantaged by those same systems, norms, and biases. For example, think of a flight of stairs. Stairs are stairs are in virtually every building with more than one floor. In many outdoor spaces, it is generally assumed that people have the physical ability to walk up the stairs to access higher floors. However, a person with a physical disability that makes them unable to walk upstairs must contend with the assumption that everyone who needed to get to the second floor would have bodies that could use the stairs. The design of the buildings that privileged some bodies contributed to the impression of others. I don't know when this uh, teaching material was designed, but there are clearly elevators in almost every building that I know. Maybe some old buildings in, like, I think New York that are multi-leveled still are basically stairs in it. But I'd say good chunk of the buildings that people can go into, one, have elevators, and two, have stairs that nobody even uses because, again, there's elevators. Now, if you were somebody, say, who had a physical disability, a lot of places do have ramps for you. A lot of places you could probably take advantage of the main floor. Like, this is such a weird example to use as oppression. Unless you're going to build a building that's flat and wide and one level, that real estate wise wouldn't make much sense. Going up makes sense. It goes on to say, importantly, privilege, like oppression, is intersectional. Intersectionality refers to the ways aspects of identity intersect to create specific experiences, needs, privileges, and oppressions. This means that one person can experience both privilege and oppression. For example, they may experience racial privilege for being white, but class oppression for being working class. Privilege and oppression can also intersect with one another to create unique experiences of a specific aspect of their identity. For example, a trans woman who is very affluent has a very different experience of transphobia and cis sexism than a trans woman who is very poor. She would, for instance, have better access to resources, medical care, and a safe place to live compared to a trans woman who is a working class. While both women experience oppression for being trans, their experiences of that oppression are very different due to the presence or absence of class privilege. This this is so nitpicky on everything, like, and the fact that it's saying unearned advantages. So simply because, say me for example, I was born a white man, I automatically have tons of privileges regardless if I use them or not, but I'm also oppressed that I don't know about, but I must be because privilege and oppression are intersectional and are the same thing. This goes on a lot more into other sections, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, but it goes on to say examples of different types of privileges. So you have race, gender, socioeconomical, Christian, heterosexual, able bodied, nationality, education, right handed, right handed privileges, geographical location, English speaking, birth order, access or rights given to the firstborn over the middle child. Like, you can't make this up. But this isn't it. You then can go do a privilege exercise to see how privileged you are. So, privilege self-assessment. Look over the list below, beginning on the left side. Check all the ways in which you do not have identity privilege. You can include everything from being left-handed to practicing a faith that worships on Saturday. But look at the way they word this. I do not have privilege in these identities, right? I do have unearned privileges in these identities. So you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Either way, it's a lose lose. You automatically always have privilege somehow. And you're supposed to rank it here. This leads into this website here, Everyday Feminism. And this article from Everyday Feminism kind of goes into some more oppressive privilege states. Again, privilege and oppression intersect, but they don't negate one another. So being poor does not negate the fact that you, as a white person, are less likely to become a victim of police brutality in most countries around the world. I don't know how either of those, how you're jumping from being poor to being abused by cops. I don't see black people who are poor being abused by cops. Being poor is an oppression, yes, but that doesn't cancel out the fact that you can still benefit from white privilege. Please, okay, I understand this article was written in 2014. This needs to be updated for sure, because I don't understand how anybody can say white privilege is still a thing. If you were to look at a ranking scale or a hierarchy of, today's society, white male or white person is like bottom of the barrel. But all you hear about is white privilege, white this, white that. Then this lady Phoenix goes on to say, privilege simply means that under the exact same circumstances, life would be harder without your privilege. Being poor is hard, but being poor and disabled is harder. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I don't think that that's privilege. That's just a fact of life. If you're disabled, you're already at a disadvantage. But just because somebody was born with 2 arms, 2 legs, no disability, you can't throw that word privilege at them. because they had no control over that. Being a woman is hard, but being a trans woman is harder. Being a white woman is hard, being a woman of color is harder. Being a black man is hard, but being a gay black man is harder. Like it, it's just becoming like the oppression Olympics over here. It's like who's oppressed more than the other, and this is not a good way for our society to be going about living. Where it's like, oh well, you have it easier than me because of this. Like everyone can have an equal opportunity for the most part. There are going to be some areas in which there is a disadvantage, as I said, with a disabled person, for example. But again, the non-disabled person has no control over that. What would you suggest? They go and they amputate their arms so it's more equal, or amputate their legs so that they also suffer what you're suffering in terms of that? But now going back to this um exercise, it says consider the following questions based on the group membership you have acknowledged above. And then it asks you, what membership do you think most often and why? Who's ever thinking of this stuff? Who's ever waking up and being like, man, I'm glad I'm a white male straight college university Christian who's 35. Like nobody's running through this list daily and being like, thank goodness for all of this. What membership do you consider the least, and why do you think that is? Why do you waste your time worrying about any of this? Just live your life the way you want to live it. But the best one that I saw was they have this, the wheel of power and privilege. Now, this September 19th, 2021, pandemic, I guess somebody had nothing else to do with their time. But this is the wheel of power and privilege. So right in the center there, power. Everything here equals power. White, post-secondary, able-bodied, heterosexual, neurotypical, robust, slim, owns property, rich, English, cisgender male, and a citizen. But look what they do here. They put power with white and then dark all the way at the outskirts of this circle. How do you think this is elevating anybody who looks at this? You're just instantly making somebody look at this and just be like, yeah, I'm oppressed, I'm marginalized, I will never be able to amount to anything, because you've already set this precedence of them being, because their skin color is dark, that they're already the furthest away. Formal education, elementary education, there's a lot of people that I know that only have elementary education and they do quite well. But look, it's not okay. You have the most power for able-bodied, and then even some disability, you're far better than significantly disabled. Heterosexual, a gay man is higher up than a lesbian, a bi. Like, this just does not help anybody. Yes, obviously there's going to be things that you can get off of this. Like, again, I agree with the ability thing. Somebody who's more able to do something versus less able has a bit of an advantage, for sure. But when you start throwing terms out like saying unearned advantages, and people have no control over that, you paint a really poor picture of things. Cisgender men and cisgender women are above trans, intersex, and non-binary. This has to be reversed because it seems like the trans people have all the power and cisgender men or men are at the far end of this spectrum. My question is, what is the point of this? Does somebody win in the end of this? Like, if you were a dark elementary education, significantly disabled, lesbian, significantly neurodivergent, vulnerable, large, homeless, poor, non English, trans, undocumented person, do you finally win the oppression award? Or having all those, and then instead of trans, you're intersex, the person who's not intersect, who's trans, has more privilege than you, so you're even more oppressed? Or the trans and the intersect are more privileged than you because you're non-binary. Like, do you see how in the weeds this gets for no legitimate reason? Who cares about any of this? Again, so many of these things, it's just depressing to look at. Like, why are you wasting all of your time with this? Live your life, do what you want to do, and don't worry about all this. It's no point in keeping up with the Joneses all the time. Just focus on your own life, better yourself, and don't, oh, woe is me, I can't get here, I can't get here. Yeah, not everybody can pull themselves from their bootstraps because some of them don't have them, but you can get to a place where you're not like bottom of the rut, you know? Anyways, you guys let me know what you guys thought about this. This this article, this training session, this thing for teachers, it's just so stupid. But yeah. Anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next one.